All the second stage tanks now pressurized. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Bite.
Hello and welcome to HBR Talk 393. We manterrupt this woman's article for a more interesting take. I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with nonsense annihilator Lauren Brooks and the personification of perceptivity, Mike Stevenson. I think we just got a Star Wars moment from Lauren. Can you talk again, Lauren?
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, you've gone robo.
You've gone robo.
Ah, Jesus Christ. All right.
It was working before the show. Everybody just wants you to know.
I know, right? This is crazy. What in the world?
Turn it off and on again.
Oh, I've tried that, and then I end up not in the show, and I hate that. But, okay. Am I still robo?
Yes.
Am I? Oh, okay.
There it is. That's better.
No,
Fixed it.
you're good
I
now.
don't know what you did, but it fixed it. Don't move.
Oh, I think she's gone.
Then we also have Mike Stevenson.
No. I'm still here.
Nope.
Oh no.
No, yeah, it's robo again.
All
right. We're gonna have to fix this at some point. And we have Richard the Lion.
Welcome to technical difficulties with the badgers. Yes,
yeah,
hello,
welcome
Richard.
to technical difficulties with the Badgers. We have Richard the
Hello.
Lionhearted, and we have hello, Richard. We have Brian Martinez working in the background to make things happen, and that is our whole crew. But before we get into everything, we got to do what we got to do. As always, Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions, and as experiences both recent and long past have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. They've made it clear that for people like us, relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work is treading on thin ice, or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. And unfortunately, that wildfire is still growing. Like we're still seeing instances of various third-party payment platforms canceling people, censoring people. Subscribestar, that was where everybody went because Patreon was censoring people, is now censoring people, as I predicted. This issue is never going to stop until in the United States, at least, our government gives a stronger directive to banks to stop enforcing the long discontinued directive that they were given by the government to censor people during the Obama administration. Operation Choke Point. It's been supposedly out of commission, right, for years, and they are still doing it. So when you talk about adding government regulation, increasing government regulation, and we can always stop doing this if it doesn't go well, if we don't like the way that it turns out, if we think it turns out to be wrong. Look at how Operation Choke Point turned out, right? It's been years. It's been longer than it was in existence since it's been supposedly ended, and it is still escalating and spreading. And you still have Visa and MasterCard, forcing these payment platforms and various social media and so on to engage in censorship. And it's compounded now by the fact that Europe is also, like the European Union, is also imposing censorship. And it's not, the United States is not protected the people of the United States are not protected against having European law imposed on us, even though we are not European. We're not in Europe, and we shouldn't be subject to European law. So that's the situation, and because of that, we strongly encourage our supporters to switch at least their support for us to feedthebadger.com, the most stable way to help us out. If you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platforms tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And that'll continue to work until they come for us. But since we're small and hopefully beneath their notice, we can still do that. As always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, which is why you should further provoke the thought police by tracking our thought-provoking discussions on honeybadgerbrigade.com, where you can find your way to all of our content, as well as a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. And with that, we will get into the show. On Tuesday, anybody that was listening, I pointed out we'll be looking at this video. We did look at this video on Tuesday a little bit, but I expect us to be able to have a little bit more of an in-depth discussion here. But I want to start out by pointing out how interesting this is. Right? There's been how many documentaries have there been introduced that, we're going to take a look at the manosphere. We're going to take a look at particularly incels. In fact,
on my end, there have been 5 that I've been rejected for.
5, right? And of course,
incel documentaries.
Yeah, of course they don't want to talk to an incel who is able to defend himself by always.
You haven't talked enough about how many bitches you hate, Richard. That's how you get through into these documents.
Well, if that's
I hate everybody equally. I hate everybody equally.
Well, that's not good enough. You need to say, I hate women and I want to rape them all. And then you'll get into these documentaries. You see?
I don't have the energy to do that.
Well, you got to hustle, my boy.
There's only 4 billion women in the world? Get started. No, it's not that many. 2 billion. 2 billion. Like half the females must be girls instead of. And you're not the right religion for that.
Nope.
I'll
tell you enough. My cousin is. My cousin's the right religion.
There we go.
You confirmed it.
So you guys can just tag team, right? But you obviously you need the correct robe and the rape mobile. You can't just go on foot because that would take forever. No, there's just been it just seems like
I can't go a bit though.
Every time we turn around, it seems like there's a new documentary, and I'll say that in air quotes as best I can because you can't see me, on the manosphere, on incels, on red pillars. They'll say red pillars, and then of course they only talk to a select group of people from one facet of the giant, multifaceted, 100-sided dice that the manosphere has become. But they don't talk to, say, the leaders of any group or the individuals that are the most connected to the most people in any group. The individuals who are the thought leaders in a particular group. They find the people that are the easiest to exploit for clickbait. And clickbait requires outrage. So we'll see how this one goes. That's the other thing. It's hard to you can't exploit Richard for clickbait because you don't get quote mineable quotes from him very often that you could piss everybody off with, unless of course he wants to give you one. Which, if you follow,
unless you follow me on Twitter,
yeah, you'll see him on Twitter, right? You want to tell people how to follow you on Twitter?
This at disabled cell. That's my handle. So
There we go.
at disabled cell. That's my Twitter.
So there you go. If you actually want what they would be looking for clickbait, that's where to find it. And to be honest, I've seen women overreact to quite a number of his posts. So like they get mad about the littlest things, and some women are like one of those.
My Twitter feed got me in trouble once at what they censor. Somebody found it.
Yeah, that I can see that. In groups of people, there's always at least one person that's going to do that in large groups like that. And then, like I said, I've seen a lot of women overreact to it because they'll take jokes seriously. They'll take statements that are not about them personally. They'll take generalizations as if they are specific, and so on. And they can be a lot like those toys where you press a button and then it just starts going off and flailing around. And usually it has some dumb song, right? And it does it for a few minutes, and then you have to push the button again to get it to operate again. There's videos on YouTube all over the place of people scaring their cats with those toys. But a lot of women act like those toys too. All you have to do is say something that is not that doesn't venerate women really, and they're off. I'm just so angry. I can't believe you said that. This is terrible. You're a misogynist pig. And they'll go off for a few minutes. And
I'm shadow banned on Twitter, so my visibility on Twitter is very bad. So.
Yeah, it might be difficult actually to find you now that I think about it, because if you're search banned, people can type your name into the search bar and you won't show up. But so one way to more easily find somebody who is search banned is to start typing as if you're going to tweet to them or post to them, and then you can see if an account comes up with that name. But in the meantime,
I have it on good authority that Twitter doesn't do that anymore.
Good authority, yeah.
So don't worry about it.
I get search banned about once a month for a few days, at least, for no reason. Sometimes, like I haven't been on for a couple of days, and then I come back on, and somebody's like, "Oh, by the way, you're search banned," and I have no idea why. So I think there are algorithms in effect that people don't realize. But so what we were looking at this last time, this fellow, Mr. Ross Kemp here, had planned on doing a documentary, which I think that's actually on Amazon. I might be able to get access to it too. I was looking for some of his stuff on YouTube, and it's only available in the UK. But I did find that some of it is on Instagram. He apparently has decided to investigate incel culture and has started to do a documentary series where he's talking to different people, and this interview surprised him a little bit. So let's dig in here. And I like the minute I start this, this is only 1 minute and 46 seconds long. It's quite possible we will take an hour and a half to get through it.
I have a doubt, by the way. I will express this doubt before we even go into it.
Yeah. But if we get through it faster than I expected, I do have some other things we can look at. So here we go.
Incels are a misogynistic group. Effectively, they hate women. How many incels have become killers?
We'd say roughly between 7 to 15 around the world.
This when we first looked at this, I initially thought, you know what, I'm going to have to stop it after the very first sentence to argue that point. But this made it better.
Sorry, how many?
Estimates typically range from between 7 to 15 incel killers, and roughly 59 people been killed in ideologically motivated incel killings.
In the United Kingdom?
Around the world.
And 7 to 15 is a boundary of error of 100%, right?
Yes.
Between
Yes.
7 and 50, 100 and something percent, which suggests right away that they don't know what the fucking incel is or what the fuck incel motivations might be. And then you have to look into all of these apparent incel killers. Like I suggested on the Tuesday show, this probably includes the likes of Elliot, what's his name, who existed before incel was even a thing, and presumably all kinds of people who existed before incel was even a thing. And then you have to think of, well, so what do you call the likes of Jeffrey Dahmer, who could never find a female partner on account of he was gay? And then you have to wonder about Ted Bundy, who was not an incel because he was a very charming and conventionally attractive man who could find all kinds of women to lure to his murderous rampage. And then you think, well, so how does any of this compare to anything else? When it comes to men who aren't getting as much sex as they want. I mean, how many serial murderers or indeed mass murderers in history could be called incels in the event that they didn't get that they weren't getting quite as much action as they wanted to, and that in itself could mean anything. Like what the fuck counts as an incel murderer? And given that a great deal of murderers happened to be people, I mean, men, apparently specifically in this case, who weren't quite getting what they wanted. And, was that necessarily the motivation for their attacks, or was it just a peripheral description of the killer in question? Like, quite often, killers were people who were dissatisfied in their lives, right? Or something.
Well, I mean, you take a look at some of the school shootings in the United States. Like we hear all the time that we should be concerned that every incel is going to be the next school shooter. But our first example of a school shooter that became famous was a girl, and she was not an incel. In fact, she was abused. So this was an entirely different situation, and it was the reasoning was entirely different, and she really kind of didn't give a reason. Like she stated, she joked about there being a reason when she was asked by the media, and the Boomtown Rats in the UK made a song about it called "I Don't Like Mondays," but in reality, it traced back to causes in her home. And when you look at the pattern of violence that takes place in the U.S. with school shooters, gang violence, and other forms of criminal violence, like you can trace domestic violence back to problems in the homes of the couple when they were children, and domestic violence has turned out to be cyclical. Quite frequently, you have an issue with, in particular, people who are two-way domestic violence perpetrators. So both the man and the woman, you have both of them coming from homes where the domestic violence was the norm. You have, like with school shooters, quite frequently there is an issue of mental health conditions in which the shooter has been put on a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, because that's the norm in treatment of depression and anxiety disorders, or they're on antipsychotics, which is becoming more and more the norm in treatment of all kinds of behavioral disorders. But of course, the idea that they ran into some group online, and because they talked to that group, that's the sole reason why they engaged in their violence, gets batted around all the time. This type of violence has been around for a long time. Gang violence has been around for a long time, right? Individual violence, people basically psychologically blowing up and engaging in rampage killing has been an issue since before the internet existed for most people, since before there was any kind of way to connect computers to communicate with each other. And in fact, since before computers. And so to attribute it to incel culture and suggest that this is something that happens because these men had the audacity to talk about being lonely and not liking it, it's a dramatic oversimplification of the issue of rampage violence, especially given the fact that for every one of them that engages in something like that, you have hundreds of men who are just quietly drowning, quietly self-destructing, like quietly being smothered by the people around them, and have no way of getting out of that situation, and don't go on a rampage, right? But yeah, why don't we just blame the guys that are the whipping boys of society, right? The guys that everybody picks on, hates, calls creeps, says they don't want to sit next to you on the bus, won't talk to, doesn't notice when they're in the grocery store. You walk past them and they're invisible. Like those guys, even though they seem to be a pretty small percentage of the number of individuals who have engaged in deadly violence against other people. Why don't we just use them as scapegoats? That seems to be the thing right now. That seems to be the practice and the popular idea of the moment. Why don't we just scapegoat incels? Then we don't have to examine the causes for all of these other instances of violence. If we just get rid of or corral or control all of the men who haven't been blessed with the approval of the vagina, then we've solved it. Even though there will still be violence, though there will still be rampage killings, because that doesn't address the underlying problems.
But I suppose we can be grateful that the likes of Ross Kemp can go into a project like this, assuming that millions of incels are out here killing billions of women, whatever the fuck you thought it was. And some Irish guy tells him, actually, no, I 7-15, son. And he goes, oh, okay, good. And somehow he believes that. I don't know why he would believe that, given that he's on orders from whatever producers are telling him to believe what he's supposed to believe. But he can nevertheless be told this 7-15 statistic, and he goes ahead and believes that. And maybe we can hold out some hope that he will further take that to mean that it's actually even fewer than 7.
Allegedly, he is compromised because he had a bit of a incident, like a decade ago, where where his ex-girlfriend beat him up, but it was hidden from the press because it was a powerful news that did it at the time, allegedly.
Well, that would
Oh,
suggest
that's
that Ross Kemp has a mind of his own. Ross Kemp does not have a mind of his own. He's an actor. He's a soap opera actor. He does what he is told to do. So
it's possible. I mean, a guy like that does still have a mind of his own,
I
but
don't
in
know.
terms of what he's going to do professionally versus what he might do in his private life and what his opinions might be and how he might think, those are going to be separate because his professional life is controlled. But it's a difference between calling yourself a journalist and being a journalist. Having the ability to analyze things and give the who, what, where, when, why, and how of it honestly versus writing what you're told, saying what you're told, only seeing the angle you're told to see and things like that.
But the analysis is not done by the presenter, be it an actor like Ross Kemp or a quote-unquote professional documentarian like Louis Theroux. I don't know if I have time to go into it, but I did watch the Louis Theroux documentary like just now, just like this evening. And like I predicted in the news show 2 weeks ago, Louis Theroux just turned up and looked all befuddled and acting like he's just this perfectly affable guy who's just going, I don't quite understand. What do you mean by all this? And the hit piece is done entirely in the edit.
Oh yeah, it is.
I mean, they took thousands of hours of footage and some very clever editors under the instruction of some very evil producers clipped everything down into the most demonizing clips, and presumably that's what's been done here as well.
It's quite likely. I don't know if our listeners all recall. I know the ones that are like long-term listeners will remember when we came out in support of the consumer revolt side of Gamergate, and not the games journo side of Gamergate. Vice had done a piece on us in 2014 when the first international conference on men's issues was held in Detroit. And so they came and they had a young lady come and ask us a lot of questions and do a lot of filming and so on. And they had put out a piece that it seemed fairly balanced. It was way more balanced than we expected. It was definitely way more balanced than GQ magazine put out. But then when we came out in support of that consumer revolt, they changed the title to imply that we think women who are raped deserve it, when nowhere in anything we've ever said have we stated or implied that. And they did not in the obviously the original post, but they did put out some stuff that was edited to make it look like we were, dipshits, essentially. This has been the way the establishment press
Not
has
just
approached
dipshits.
the manosphere.
Anyone who remembers the GQ article they did.
Oh, the GQ article was not.
They photoshopped.
That was a totally different different.
Yeah, the photoshops they did on Paul and Sage and.
Oh yeah, they made him look
what's her name?
pasty and weird.
They're positively demonic.
Well, there's
And
more.
they got away with it.
There's more to it than that. In that article, we had, first of all, Charlotte interviewed a whole lot of people, and then he picked the most vulnerable to being lied about and used them in his article. For example, I followed the always be recording rule, and so I was protected, right? he completely just straight up lied about Danny, like just flat out made stuff up and attributed it to Danny. Danny didn't say any of that stuff. But because he didn't have a recording to prove it, or couldn't present a recording to prove it, that was completely blown over. Like in Canada, I guess that can be considered a crime. But he had gone after people who were not recording. Since I recorded, I was not included in the article, which was kind of interesting, right? Anybody that had evidence of whether they said what they said they were accused of saying or not didn't get in. And he's not the first one that did that. There's a quote that is attributed to Warren Farrell that is absolutely vile, that he never said, and he has steadfastly maintained he never said that. It's one of the most controversial quotes out there about him, and feminists will cite it all the time when he comes up, and it traces back to an interview where there's no recording of the interview, there's no evidence, nothing. Right, so the interviewer just made that up and attributed it to him, and then that it's been associated with his name ever since. So if you're ever contacted it as part of the manosphere, or somebody posts something like, see if I have it, yeah, like this. Are you an incel? Are you willing to talk to me for an article about what people get wrong about the incel subculture? Please get in contact. DMs are open. If you see something like that about any aspect of the manosphere, and you decide to talk to whoever that person is that posts it, not necessarily this person, but always be recording, always keep receipts. If you're going to talk to someone in DMs, make sure that you are getting screenshots, downloading what you can download of it. Take pictures of the screen with your phone so you can prove that it was real. Do whatever you have to do, but make sure you can prove what you did say and what you didn't say wasn't what you said. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, so that lady was like, I don't think no one spoke to her because no one from the incel community speaks to journalists that much no more.
I wonder why.
So after the couple of documentaries, nobody trusts them too much.
Yeah, that's what I would. That's how I would reckon. We're pretty much the same in the men's rights movement. I think GQ tried to come to later conferences and got rebuffed because of that. Did someone else try to speak?
I think Lauren's trying to get back on.
I'm trying to help it.
Okay. That's
carry
it.
on.
Yeah, that's.
Oh.
Hello. Hey,
yeah, Lauren.
We do have a
hello.
lot. There we go. So you're not gonna do the, ooh, what does this button do? Yep. Every chick has her energy. Oh. But yeah, it all goes back to the fact that there are people who are journalists and there are people who call themselves journalists, and they are not the same bunch. right? A journalist, like the entire analysis that you do if you are acting as a journalist is, have I got the whole story? Is this person telling me the truth? And am I including things that aren't really relevant, right? Things like that, not character analysis of the people involved, other than, is this person telling me the truth, right? Is this person trolling me? But for instance, you don't make judgments. This person's a misogynist. These people are racist. These people are bad people. We don't want to talk to them. That's not journalism, right? Journalism is, there was an event at location X, time Y, involving these people, and they did and said these things, and the reason that I could ascertain was, they said they wanted to do X, or they wanted to accomplish XYZ. Those are your who, what, where, when, why, and how. They showed up. They all showed up by bus. Whatever. You tell the facts, and you let people make up their own minds about them, and that is journalism, right? If you are not telling facts, you are withholding facts, or if you are saying things that are not factual, saying things that you can't confirm, if you're making judgments and you're writing judgments into your article, that's not journalism, right? That's commentary, and it is an entirely different. We're commentators here. We do a little bit of journalism in among our commentary, but mostly we are reporting on what journalists say, and we're analyzing it. And that's your analysis. But it's not. It isn't journalism. It isn't documentarianism to characterize what you are recording. It's journalism or documentarianism to let your viewers, your listeners, your readers see the whole picture and get all the information and characterize it themselves. At best, you might classify this as, whether it's political or athletic or something along those lines. That's a characterization you can make as a journalist. I am talking about sports. I am talking about politics. I am talking about education, whatever. But not, I am talking about misogyny. That's a character judgment. That's bullshit. And yeah, actual journalism doesn't sell anywhere near as much as clickbait, which used to be called yellow journalism back before clicks were a thing. So, but yeah, let's see let's go a little further into this. I just love though that statement. Well, before we go into it, it's interesting to point out though, again, what he has said here is that the number of rage killers, of rampage killers, who have been incels, that as part of the incel subculture in incel forums and such, is minuscule around the world. 7 to 15 around the entire world. 7 to 15. We are talking such a small percentage of the population as to be statistically negligible. And I know that it's not negligible to the people who have been killed in those rampage sprees, but even in that instance, you want to find out what is the real reason why your loved one was killed. If you want to not be one of the people that gets killed in one of those rampages,
I mean, the number of people who have killed
the actual cause to be known so that it can be addressed, and not some false cause attributed and politicized so that the thing continues to happen.
The number of people who have killed each other over road rage, and not even in their cars, but over some matter of that. The number of people who have killed each other over tea cozy related incidents. You know about those weird statistics that the number of people who have been killed by tea cozies, or the number of people who have been killed by toilets.
Yeah.
It's far greater than the number of people who have been killed over incel rage, or whatever. And this is even the greatest possible inflation of people who have been killed over incel rage. It's negligible to the point of zero.
Yep.
Meanwhile, let us look at the number of people who have been killed over terrorist rage pertaining to certain religions. But no one wants to talk about that. No one in the legacy media wants to talk about that. And I can't even say what it is I'm talking about because I'll get arrested if I talk about it. The number, I mean, there's all manner of subjects over which people have been killed.
Probably the number of people that have been killed by the American fat acceptance movement is higher than the number of people that have been killed by incels. The reason I say that is because, yeah, one of the worldwide, the listed
boo that joke.
worldwide, the listed leading cause of death is cardiopulmonary and vascular health conditions, which are affiliated with being fat. Right, you're overweight. It puts a strain on your whole body. It raises your blood pressure. It makes you more likely to have
the thyroid.
Yeah, the thyroid. Yeah, it affects your whole body. It actually, if you're a woman and you're overweight, it makes your cramps worse every month than they would be if you were a healthy weight. But the fat acceptance movement in the United States encourages women to think that they are healthy, even if they are morbidly obese.
But the fat.
Yep.
That's starting to die. That's starting to die out now because of Ozempic.
It's starting to die out because of heart attacks and strokes.
And
yeah. But you're right. Ozempic is making a big dent in it because all of a sudden people who didn't think they could lose weight are losing weight. There are some consequences that can happen to losing it too fast or losing it with a drug. Some of them are developing osteoporosis. Mhm. Yep. Oh, hang on. For some reason, they're saying they can't hear Lauren.
What?
No sound. This is not. I don't understand that because all the other mics are coming through, but Lauren's mic is not coming through. That doesn't make sense. So what Lauren was explaining, she just was talking about when you screw with your hormones. She was talking about how Ozempic is a chemical that is produced already by your body. So apparently it's going out and coming back in. Okay, guys, we didn't ask for your consent for that. We're sorry. Uh, but the point that she's making is that you can't take that kind of shortcut without consequences. If you're, like there are doctors that are uh, treating it as though you just prescribe this pill here, take this pill, and you'll go lose your weight. Whereas what you actually have to do um, when you're trying to lose weight is a combination of things. And if you just take this drug and let the weight come off without doing the other work, um, which a lot of women are doing, right? I'm not even using any kind of drug for weight loss. I'm actually just slogging through the diet and exercise thing, and it's very slow going. Um, but it's safer. If you mess with your hormones like that, your body stops producing it, or it starts overproducing it, or it has other changes that take place. And there have been people who have used some of these medications and not done the other things that they're supposed to do in conjunction with the medication that have ended up with all kinds of issues, including osteoporosis, which you wouldn't even think it's related, but it is because it's a growth hormone. So it's not a magic bullet, right? But at the other end of it, right, they've gotten like this partly because it's just normal in the United States to be morbidly obese. Like people, well, I hit the point where for my height, if you look at a weight chart, then the pounds put me at morbidly obese. Um, I'm fortunate; I have a lot of muscle under the fat, and so I don't look morbidly obese. But when I said something to a coworker of mine, like I'm starting to go to the gym after work and stuff. And she's like, you don't need to lose weight. You're fine. You're not fat. I am. Right? I wasn't when I was in school, when I was young. I used to be the skinny girl that people would be like, this isn't real, what a real woman looks like. Real women have curves. I didn't have any curves. I was 5'8" and 120 pounds. Was actually underweight. It was really unhealthy, but I was on steroids for asthma, and I was an athlete, and I could eat 15,000 calories a day and not gain a pound at that point in my life. And I'm not kidding, really. Um, like I was eating at a on the regular at a restaurant in Lima when I was in university in Lima. It's the place that inspired Wendy's. So the equivalent of a Wendy's triple. I was eating a couple of those, a couple of orders of fries, a Frosty, and a huge sugary drink for one meal, and then having two other meals and at least two snacks a day and not gaining any weight because I was exercising and I had all those steroids in my system. Now, like 52-year-old, like totally not the same. Actually, 53-year-old, totally not the same level of activity post start of the menopause bullshit that we all have to go through and like I cry at Hallmark commercials now. It's really bad. But again, like all that stuff changes, and now I have to exercise more than I would normally at this age, or I have to give up junk food that I'm not willing to give up.
And
And this is something like you can't do the magic bullet thing, and I'm not going to do the magic bullet thing because I already have other health problems I don't want to make worse. But women will do that, and they've done that because so many of them have gotten to the point of being morbidly obese without having people go, your doctor should be telling you this at least. You gotta start taking better care of yourself. You're not looking as healthy as you were before. I'm worried about you. Their friends or their family members, hey, let's go to the gym. Hey, let's take a walk. Anything. Because it's politically incorrect to care about a woman's weight. And women are dying because of that. Men are dying because of that. Usually, if a woman gets fat, her eating habits, because she's the one that buys all the groceries in the house with her husband's money, he gets fat too. Her eating habits affect his eating habits. Her kids' eating habits are affected. But yeah, we're gonna blame all the death and destruction in the world on guys who have not been blessed by the holy hole.
And when it comes to biochemical medical procedures that result in human death, for 7 to 15, well, let us compare that to. And I'm surprised. Well, I've been in and out of the room while y'all have been talking, and I haven't been monitoring the situation in the comments. But if anyone else has brought this up, I apologize for not having noticed it. But some of you may be able to anticipate what I'm about to bring up. When it comes to biochemical medical procedures that result in human death,
Does it start with an A?
it starts with an A.
That would have been my next point.
7 to 15, you say. Well, multiply that by 1 million and you can start to see what I'm driving at. Who's doing a documentary about that on fucking Netflix or on fucking Apple or Amazon? Who's interviewing women and digging into their fucking personal life to sort of demonize them as to where they came about this decision? Anyone? No, whatever. Fine, doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah, it's not counted on the lists put out by like the World Health Organization or your country's measurements of human death, because it's not politically correct to do so, because it involves judging women's actions. But since it became legal in the United States and common all around the world, women have made being aborted the leading cause of human death in the world. It isn't even close. The margin between the cause I mentioned before, cardiopulmonary and vascular issues, health issues, and being aborted is over half of the total of cardiopulmonary and vascular issues deaths. Right? It is the margin between is that wide. It is that many more that and we hear all the time about men being violent and men being careless and men this and men that. Women have 11 different categories of birth control. Women are the arbiters of consent in pretty much every culture, right? In every culture, the history of laws revolving around sexual consent, right? The criminalization of imposition of unwanted sexual contact has started with protection of women's consent, protection of women's refusal rights, and not protection of men. So women are the arbiters of consent. Right? And it isn't because women don't engage in predatory sexual behavior. It isn't because men aren't victimized. It's because women are protected. It's because women receive compassion and men receive judgment. Right? And so, with all of that being true, that women can say no anytime they want, and nobody says, "How dare you?" That women have pretty much all of the effective birth control available to them, and also have the ability to make their consent reliant on men using the one type of birth control that's available to them. Women still fail to control their reproductive cycle so frequently that they have made being aborted the true leading cause of death in the world. About 3 in 10 babies that are conceived are aborted. And we're talking elective abortion here, not abortion because of complications of pregnancy or abortion because the woman has been raped or it's an underage girl that's been a victim of incest or anything like it. It's just straight up elective abortion. I mean, that is it. But we're going to worry about 7 to 15 freakouts. Yep. And before anybody comes back with, oh, you're just demonizing women, you just are bashing women, this isn't a made up statistic. It's fact. It is true. The facts are that nobody has more power to prevent a woman from becoming pregnant than the woman herself. Nobody has more power to decide whether or not a child is going to be conceived inside of her body than she does. It isn't somebody else's fault when it happens unless she actually was raped. And the overwhelming majority of abortion is done in the case of consensual sex where the abortion is elective, not as a result of rape, incest, or health conditions. So, yeah, we are not talking about something that that isn't real. We're not bashing women as, probably like this because they're women. And we're not suggesting that we just think that this is what women are like. This is a reality in the world. 3 in 10 conceptions end in 3 in 10 pregnancies end in an elective abortion. Night Motorcyclist says even Trump kind of caved on abortion talk. Before he ran for office, Trump was not pro-life. He was pro-abortion. So I never expected him to toe the line on right to life. Women better hope I never become president. But I don't think I should because I don't think a woman should be president.
None of us have had a truly right-wing president or prime minister for a very fucking long time.
Yeah. Even the ones that are, like, historically in the United States, many that are called right-wing are progressive.
The Overton window has been shoved in the leftwise direction every generation for as long as any of us can remember.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where we've completely lost sight of what the fuck is even left or right. And that's why I try to avoid this whole left-right paradigm. It's a reductive and childish waste of time.
Yeah. Yep. So I would love to see a comparison, like between the shooters that have been labeled incel shooters. Even the maximum number, 15 young men that have been labeled incel shooters versus, say, the shooters that are the mass killers, not shooters, but mass killers, rage killers, rampage killers. Because I forget, in some countries you can't get a gun. But the rampage killers that have been labeled incel killers versus the rampage killers who have been on selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or versus women who have had 4 or more abortions. And the fact is that that number, that 3 in 10, that exists for the same reason the high numbers of sexual violence and intimate partner violence exist. Perpetrators are repeat offenders. So there are many, many women who have never had an abortion and never would. And then there are many, many women who have had 4 or more. Then there's the whole population that has had one and regrets it and doesn't want to have another one and takes measures to prevent it from ever happening to them again, from them ever being faced with that decision and feel they made the wrong decision or even just regret having to have had to make that decision. But there's a huge chunk among women who have had abortions that are quite prolific when it comes to down to it. Like, prolific killers, that is, not prolific. And they've conceived quite frequently. So yeah, then there's those that are proud of it, right? Shout your abortion. Like, no, thank you. Not having one. Wouldn't tell you if I wanted to. But you know, that's the way things are. It is not misogynistic to state facts and make comparisons. It is misogynistic to think that because women are women, you have to pretend that they can do nothing wrong and everything they do is okay and benevolent and a right and should never be criticized and so on. That you can't improve on women's behavior and women can never get better than they are because that would mean that they are imperfect. That is misogynistic because it prevents women from having success in life. If you tell
Shout your
women,
vasectomy,
there we go.
gentlemen. I mean,
Wouldn't that just be ow?
I say that like it's the equivalent, but
It's not.
men have abortions too. Men are party to abortions. Men could shout their abortions as well. Men could say, I was party to an abortion. One of my babies was fucking killed. Let's go ahead and shout that out. No, men would never do that.
No, for one thing, men have no control over that. You can't make somebody have an abortion. For another thing, and this is something that's a little off topic, but I have to point this out because every conversation I've been in on social media in probably the last 10 years where abortion is discussed, some idiot equates a zygote with a gamete. Okay? The zygote is the conceived product of two gametes meeting and merging, and then the zygote is attached to the uterus and growing, right? The gamete, the sperm and the egg, are not complete organisms. A zygote is a complete organism at the earliest stage of its life. There is a huge difference. If you were to just take a gamete and try to grow it into something without combining it with another gamete, a compatible gamete, nothing will happen. If you take a zygote and successfully transplant it into another womb that it's compatible with, it will grow. And that has been done. We have clinics that do that for people. But there are no clinics that just implant a sperm into your uterus with no egg and grow a baby, or implant an egg into your uterus with no sperm and grow a baby. That does not happen because they are not organisms. Gametes are not organisms. They are just tissue. And the inability to differentiate between those two things is one of the many facets of ignorance behind pro-choice thinking. Lauren, did I hear you for a moment? Doing what wrong? without any sperm? Yeah. Uh, there we go. Oh yes, anything men can do, women can do better, right? What's the line in the song? We did a
They can't.
performance of
They
that.
can't.
What were you saying, Richard?
Hello. They can't
Lauren
get
is
through
still
1 minute.
inaudible?
Oh, so you can't hear Lauren.
No.
No,
What
you
is
can't.
going
The
on?
guy can't hear Lauren on YouTube. The listeners can't hear you.
Just YouTube? Oh, well no, they can't hear on freaking on this is insane. Alright, I don't know. I don't even know how to fix that. Like I have no that's got to be a problem with Video Ninja. iPhones, huh? Oh, I wonder if I can I don't know if I can Brian's going to have to deal with this. Like they're still saying they can't hear. Um shit. Uh Brian's going to have to figure out a way to
I
fix
can hear
this
it
cuz
fine. I just
yeah, we
monitored the
can hear
situation on
Lauren
YouTube.
in the Video Ninja chat that we're using.
No,
We can hear
YouTube can
we can
hear her
all
as
hear
well.
Lauren.
Someone...
So Brian's having her. We can hear Brian, but you guys can't because he's got it set up that way. But Lauren's gonna hang up and come back. We're trying the first rule of tech support: turn it off and on again. So I think Lauren's back.
The
Try
aircraft
talking
told me
again.
that.
Who told you that?
The air crowd, the IT
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah, the IT crowd. Well, I mean, I've had my share. All right, let's see if people can hear you. And we had a hello from Lauren. Um, I've had my share of embarrassing ID to 10T.
Hello, hello.
Yep. So Brian says it's good. I'm assuming it's good. Let's go ahead and Lauren, what were you going to talk about?
The chat does. You know what? Honestly, I forget
I know.
because
Isn't that always just the way?
it really is, and it's sad. But I
Yeah.
digress.
Well, I heard a yay. I have a yay from Art first. Does that mean that y'all can hear her now? Because that would be great.
Please hear me.
There's a woot woot we good from oikophobic misanthrope who has the most glorious name. That
I
is
love
That's my
his
boy.
name.
I trust my boy. Now, and I just monitored the situation, and I can hear you. Fucking say something, Lauren.
He's got the greatest name.
Yep.
I love it.
Ruben the imitator says you are heard, Lauren.
I am hurt. I feel so hurt. That's great. It's great to be back amongst the living. Thank you, guys.
Now, in the vertical chat, we have a question here. He says, I may regret asking this, but if abortion is murder, then how does incest justify it? It doesn't. It doesn't. It is one of the
No.
excuses that abortion advocates use because rape and incest create victims, and victims deserve compassion, or at least they receive compassion. And that pulls on people's heartstrings. So it creates a moral conundrum for people.
I mean, rape
The
doesn't
fact
justify
is,
it.
the fact is that no matter what the crime is, no matter what the reason is that a mother might want to abort, the baby is not a guilty party. The baby did not cause this. It is a co-victim.
Yeah, the fact that your dad is an asshole doesn't justify you being killed.
Right.
There was some comedian that said this. Oh, yeah, you should never be killed unless your dad is an asshole. Well, no, it doesn't work out that way. And even if your dad is an incestuous asshole, I mean, that doesn't necessarily, unless you actually develop one of those genetic conditions that can be brought about by incest. And even then,
Right.
sort of, that doesn't necessarily justify your death.
I mean,
By the same token,
incestuous implies one thing, right? That is something that absolutely deserves to be scorned, right? But just being an asshole, well, being an asshole is subjective. It's subjective as fuck, right? Like, I can state an opinion that to most people would seem plain as day, but to those people who just I would seem like an asshole for stating that, well, maybe men are men and women are women. And to those people who disagree, I would be an asshole. So being an asshole is subjective, right? But
I will
being
say
a pedophile or being an abuser or being any one of those things, that
that's
is
not subjective.
And yet,
it is absolutely
this never stops a woman from producing a baby. By the way, women can be pedophiles, and women can be rapists, and women can be incestuous as well. And this never stops them from producing a fucking baby. So why should it stop a man from producing a baby? I know.
Well,
I'm sorry to have brought you
it's
into
not
this
just that.
discussion on
Yeah.
such a weird element.
It's not
Lauren,
just that.
but
It's a matter of any excuse in the book, right? Any excuse they can make, any way that they can tug on your heartstrings, any way that they can create cognitive dissonance, they will. The bottom line on that particular subject is a single question: is it alive? Is it a living human organism, or is it not? Because if it is, then you have a second question to ask. If it's not, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. But if it is, you have a second question to ask, and that second question is: on what justification are you excluding it and exempting the people who kill it from the existing legal and social standards that apply to preserving human life and protecting it against being wrongfully terminated? Laws against homicide, laws against negligent homicide, even. And that is why, for the longest time, if a woman engaged in abuse of her own body while she was pregnant that resulted in damage to the baby, she could be held accountable. And women objected to that. But if a baby before birth is not an inanimate object, if it is living, if it is alive, and it is an organism, it's not just tissue, which we can prove. It is a fully formed organism. And it is human, not some other species, which again, we can prove it's genetically human. It's genetically distinct from the mother. And it is categorized as a living thing, not an inanimate object. Then the laws that the medical profession has to follow should apply to it. The laws of the medical profession has to follow if you are in a car accident and you're in the hospital and your life depends on their actions. The laws that a cop has to follow if you're breaking into somebody's house and he's trying to stop you and it's a life or death situation. All of those laws should apply in this situation. And legalized abortion bypasses those standards. The question becomes, for what reason? What is the valid excuse? And I don't think somebody else was guilty of a crime is a valid excuse.
feel like, is that you, Richard, who's chomping at the bit? Someone sounds like
Someone's
they're
chomping at the bit.
No, I think I'm still a little bit.
I was
staticky.
muted, so sorry.
All right. Well, I feel I have to.
Are we gonna get back to the?
Yeah, we are
gonna
going to
get back to the video.
to the video.
I just wanted to say something about per
You say
capita.
something.
Like,
You go ahead and say something, and then we'll get back
like
to the video.
the offspring of rapists are kind of per capita no more likely to become criminals than the offspring of women who just simply fucked about with chads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, for all the things you could predict about rape babies, I would like to see some statistics, because even if their dad or their mother was a rapist, and yes, the vast majority of rape babies are actually born from female rapists rather than male rapists, that doesn't necessarily mean that the offspring in question is going to be a rapist. Very often they're just, they collect half of their mother's genes and half of their father's genes, and they go on to become normal people. I mean, very often they don't. It's I guess it's sort of 50-50, or not even 50-50, because a lot of it depends on nurture. Like, all kinds of babies can be developed by a combination of a good man's genes and a bad woman's genes, or a bad man's genes and a good woman's genes. Whatever good and bad even means in any sort of context, because a lot of that, comes from nurture rather than nature. Like,
Hell, we could really get into the weeds here.
I
wonder what
I know
percentage of
it's
babies conceived by a man's genes who isn't doing anything wrong, and an adulteress.
It's nurture versus
Well,
nature, and
yeah. So
the fact that someone is a rapist, it could be partially nurture and partially nature, and it's like having a nose job doesn't mean that your baby will have the nose that you developed after your nose job. You know what I mean?
It doesn't change your DNA, and I don't think that it's in anybody's DNA to be a criminal and not be able to help it. Not be able. I think everybody that ends up committing crimes had a path between innocent baby and perpetration, where things occurred that changed the individual's character, and the individual made their own decisions and adopted changes of character that led to that perpetration. I don't think that if you eliminate that path in the middle, that the same outcome would occur. But let's go ahead and get back into the video. So we're going to go back a couple of seconds here and just repeat what was just said.
Motivated incel killings
in the United Kingdom,
around the world.
Even one murder is too many, of course. But inceldom doesn't appear to be the phenomenon I thought it was. It's clear that this documentary needs to take a different direction.
And I'm going to point this out. This reaction shouldn't be ignored, right? What he did here.
Of course. But inceldom doesn't appear to be the phenomenon I thought it was. It's clear
his body
that this documentary needs to take a different
direction.
He
had to stop and think about that.
He's not thinking.
I'm telling you, this man expected a different answer than he got. Right? And yes, he's an actor and he can fake that, but I don't think he's faking that in this instance, because the standard narrative is that there is an epidemic of killings by incels all over the world. and he just got told information that clearly explains that there is not. It's like he may be exaggerating his reaction, but I bet if you stopped 10 people who pay attention to politics a little bit, but just watch the mainstream media, and you gave them that information, their reaction would range from calling you a liar and a misogynist to what he just did. Having to stop and think about, well, wait a minute, because I was told there were killings. There were lots of killings. I was told there would be blood, and there was no blood. What is he gonna talk about next?
His reaction as the presenter is not the paradigm changing point. What was left in the edit is the paradigm
one killing is too much. The commentary, yeah. But
the fact that this clip was delivered to the general populace, to the normie populace, is what has changed things. Because he's not here to actually think. He's a fucking soap opera actor. He's just here as a vessel of whatever the producers and the editors are here to present. But the fact that this clip was presented to the general public is what presents a paradigm changing shift. The fact that this was even allowed to be shown to the normie, the populace, because having just watched the Louis Theroux documentary, like if this was the Louis Theroux documentary, this would not have been shown. It would just have been 7 to 15. Surely you mean 7 to 15 million? Yeah, because he wouldn't even be interviewing some unknown Irishman who doesn't have 1 million subscribers on Instagram.
Yeah.
He would only be interviewing the likes of fucking Sneeko or fucking Milo Gaines. He would only be interviewing the likes of rich cunts who live in a mansion with fucking 5 pools and such. And you know, good on, well, I say good on Ross Kemp, but good on the producers in charge of this documentary, that they're not just interviewing filthy rich cunts who got into this game having already been filthy rich. He actually interviewed this fucking Irish guy whose name I don't even know. He seems
William
to be interviewing.
Costello. Do you remember the Incel Project?
No.
Okay.
That's how much producers find me.
Yeah, that's he worked with her on some things, and before the creator involved in that, we had her on here a few times, Nama Cates. And I believe that is a pseudonym, not her real name. But in any case, because I had a terrible time finding her, and it ultimately couldn't when she had a breakdown, and that was he tried to help me find her and get her some help. She's how I kind of learned that if you don't have a way of identifying an individual very, very well, it becomes damn near impossible to get them help, even if they have a very public breakdown. And it's I don't know how to fix that, like, without taking away the very important anonymity that people have online. You know, it's you should be able to be anonymous on the internet, but there does need to be a way to get someone help if they are in danger, and the only people who know about it are their internet connections. Like I those two things are incompatible, and I don't know how to fix it. Uh, but he put in a lot of effort trying to figure out a way to help, and so for that I'm very grateful. But yeah, he's done quite a bit of investigation into this. So he's not just some rando. He might be to
But
actor or
he's
to, but
he's still a
he's got an
feminist at
influencer.
heart.
He what?
He's still a feminist at heart. He comes from
he
a
does
lefty
still
point of
have.
view.
Yeah, he does still have that going, and like he's not compatible with, say, the men's rights movement, but even as a feminist at heart, he still has shown compassion for incels, which is something that most feminists don't do, and especially feminist women don't do.
He's in a feud with.
He's recognized that there's a lot more nuance than is being batted about in public.
But he's in a feud with the entire white side of the manosphere. So he's in a feud with he's in a feud with Tomato at the minute because they hate each other.
I can see that.
He's in a feud with Weinstein, Troy Francis, Myron Gaines, and a whole lot of other people that are on that side of it. So
yeah, it's the difficulty of engaging with like the pickup artist tradcon overlap in the manosphere. That's very real. Like even like I try to at least be open-minded to all male perspectives in the movement. But I think that pickup artistry is a very high-risk endeavor for men because you don't have to do anything wrong to be falsely accused. And I think believing that you can manipulate women psychologically into behaving themselves accountably when women have no social accountability and no legal accountability is like pretending that you can handle heroin. Like, oh yes, I can just take small amounts of that and it'll be okay. No, you can't. You'll eventually have something go wrong. You'll get a tainted batch, you'll use too much, your need for it will increase beyond your ability to resist addiction, whatever. With women, it's the same thing. Eventually, you're going to run across one who is just smart enough to see what you're doing and fake being compliant with it or going along with it until she can get what she wants from you or do what she wants to you, and then you're fucked.
The pickup artists are the reasons why the UK have the most regarded laws, because the pickup artist was popular in the UK and they made laws against it in Parliament because it was that big. Because now you can't really talk to a woman without getting arrested or look at a woman without getting arrested because of the pickup artist.
Yeah, the stupid thing is pickup artistry only works on women who don't vet men for character. Right? Who are just looking to get laid. It does not work on women who want a partner who is going to be a real partner to them and who are willing to be a real partner to that man. So it does saddle men with women that they are going to have to manage for the rest of their lives if they get together with them. It's a real problem. Like I think men have the right to make their own choices just like women do. And if they want to go that route, it is their choice. But I will not stop criticizing it as an unwise choice.
Halfway through the video, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, halfway through the video and it's 8:30. But yeah, this guy was shocked like this because the mainstream media has lied so much about this that it's just automatically expected that the answer is going to be significantly higher. That was the point that I wanted to make when I stopped it. Before we move on, there is a super chow. Meredith G. gave us $5 and said HBR Talk 393. The thing that no one wants to talk about with regard to incels is that isolation and the very nature of their loneliness can drive them toward ideologies that are very destructive. You will often find that these guys run through multiple ideologies looking for meaning. And that's to be expected. When you are isolated, when you are excluded, you're looking for a route to inclusion. In nations where Islamic terrorism is far more organized and prolific and prevalent, pervasive, they recruit from among men who have no prospects. No one is trying to arrange a marriage with them, and their job prospects are low. They're not already inclusively participating in their community as a contributing member. They may be homeless, right? They may be jobless. They may be uneducated, and we here in the West, we constantly are bombarded with this idea that it's just women in the Middle East that are uneducated. But if a man doesn't have money, his kids don't get to go to school either. Right? It's not like in the U.S. where you can be on the verge of homelessness or even homeless and your kids can still attend school. And the government is paying for it. There are nations in the Middle East where there are no schools, or at least not elementary, or where their school isn't available unless you pay for it. And if you don't have the money, then your kids don't go to school. Your kids work from the time they're young. Child labor isn't rare. So quite a bit is different. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. So when you see like ISIS, Al Qaeda, various other like different terror cells that have been talked about in the media and have been a threat to various nations over the years, the men that are involved in those, the men that are the doers, the ones that are holding the guns, firing off at people, the ones that are doing the kidnappings, the ones that are beheading people in the desert, the ones that are strapping bombs to themselves and walking into people's weddings or political events and such, and blowing themselves up, committing suicide to take other people with them. They are the incels of that area. They're just not in forums talking about it. And they're looking for meaning when they're recruited. And when you look at the cartels down in South America that are selling drugs and trafficking humans, the same thing. They're recruiting from men who have no other hope. They're not recruiting doctors and lawyers and CEOs of companies. They're recruiting men who, were they in more luxurious situated nations, would be sitting in their basement on a laptop computer or in an internet cafe talking about why they can't get a girlfriend, why they can't get a job, why they are having difficulty in school. Those are the guys that are targeted by these ideologies. And if you think it's not happening in your country because your country is more first world than that, go look at how many of the men in your military are single and don't want to be. Go look at how many of the men in your military have been recruited because the only way they can afford to get a post-secondary education is that the military will pay. They'll give them grants for signing up to learn how to kill people. It's actually quite a thing. If you're too poor and you can't get academic scholarships, and you don't have the talent to get an athletic scholarship or a scholarship for being artistic in some way, um, the military doesn't require those things of you. You simply join up, and they'll work you half to death, and they'll teach you how to kill people, and you're at risk of being sent into a war zone, but they'll pay for at least part of your post-secondary education. And that's who they're recruiting. And so what we're looking at in this phenomenon isn't men who are looking for these forums because they hate women and they just want to bitch about them. It's men who run across these forums while they're on a journey seeking someplace to belong.
So effectively, I have got everything wrong about incels. I think that they kill lots of girls globally and in the United Kingdom. I think they're a threat, a permanent threat to the security of this country. I think there are hundreds of thousands of them. I think that they are generally white and right-leaning.
Okay, Richard. Before we go on, obviously the killing.
Yeah, I just watch train and bus videos in my spare time. I don't really do anything for the most part. So, and I'm black. So,
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I think you told me at some point a couple of times that the incel community is more black than white.
Yeah, on the forums it's mostly white, but even though the forum is run by a black guy, that it's mostly white people that on the forums for the most part. But incel trio is like Asian and like Indian and black guys mostly.
So it seems like the representation that the media has given, where if you're an incel, it's you must be an angry right-wing white guy sitting in your basement, on a laptop whatever.
But most incels aren't really that angry or bothered, to be honest.
Yeah, not the ones I've met. But yeah, they always say angry men, right? Angry men of the internet.
I think most incels have been beaten down to the point where they just have apathy.
Mm-hmm. You think most of them are have kind of decided that hope is not attainable?
Yep, and most of exited society and gave up on society. So most incel men have noped out of society.
Yeah. This is a phenomenon. We had talked about this years ago, occurring in Japan, and
grass eaters and the herbivore.
Yeah.
And herbivore men.
Yep, herbivore men. Essentially,
the hikikomori.
Hikikomori, and they don't just not date. They also, like in Japan, there was a cultural tendency to be on a particular track. You graduate your high school, and you go to some form of post-secondary educational training, and then you get the highest paying job that you can possibly get. A lot of guys in Japan that do that, they end up working for exploitative corporations that expect them to work 16-hour days, and it's eat, sleep, work for the rest of your life. And even if you get married and you have a family, you don't really get to see them much. It's just eat, sleep, work, and you are supporting your wife and your kids in what they do, and then you die. And they're referred to as salarymen. That they work in an office and they draw a salary, and they're if you were to calculate their hourly rate that they would earn, it would probably be abysmally low because of how many hours they were expected to put in and how much they were to sacrifice their individual selves for the good of their company. Like the company owns you now because you got a job there. And the generation that started opting out of that was Gen X. Gen X started looking at that going, no. And so you see more adult men doing, taking whatever job will give them the meet their basic needs, and not necessarily support the family that they're not going to have. And they go to work, they do the minimum they've got to do in terms of hours and such, and then they go home and they just enjoy their lives. And it shocked Japan that men would behave that way, because they weren't treated like human beings with their own interests. They were treated like they had to be um, owned by these companies. And when you throw the American workaholic culture into a country with an honor culture like Japan, that kind of thing is going to happen. It basically turned them into automatons. So it was kind of inevitable that this would happen. At the other end of it, you have this gynocentric subculture, or sub strain within their culture, that it's very dishonorable for a man to be viewed as butting up against women's interests, right? And it's not just like in the U.S. If someone accuses you as a dude of being creepy, or um, talking to a woman you shouldn't be talking to, or bumping into a woman where you shouldn't be bumping into her, saying something inappropriate, touching inappropriately, it becomes an argument before it ever reaches the point of becoming reputational damage. But in Japan, it's instant reputational damage. It does not matter if you are innocent. You've been accused, and that's enough. And there have been men that have committed suicide over this. It is fatal in many cases. And it's so bad that to protect men just as much as to protect women, they've had to, in their transit system, they've had to create train cars just for women with no men on them. And so that men can ride on train cars where there are not a whole lot of women, or maybe no women, to accuse them of groping, because the train lurched one direction or another and everybody bumped into everybody. And women will be hypersensitive to even being touched. And it does not take much to destroy a man's life with an allegation of something as simple as groping in a circumstance where he cannot deny that there was physical contact, and he can only deny that it was intentional, or that the location the contact occurred in, like her butt or a breast, was intentional, or that he can deny that it was his hand and not his briefcase, you know, um, like that kind of thing has destroyed men's whole careers and families. So young men have responded. A few Gen Xers, a lot more millennials, and even more Zoomers by simply opting out of the entire culture of graduate, go to school, go to university, graduate university, get a job, work 16 hours a day till you die. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing that they have made a change, and that I hope eventually that there'll be the pendulum will stop at some point where men and women can work together to have families and happiness and not be exploited by companies and not be at each other's
Well,
throats.
that's not gonna happen. When the pendulum swings, it's gonna swing hard.
Yeah, it looks more like the population of Japan is dying out. But I guess we'll see what happens with they've got efforts underway now to increase their birth rate, so we'll see what happens. But right now, as it stands, unless women shape up in particular, the pendulum is going to swing so hard in the other direction that everything that feminists have claimed they had to put a stop to will seem like a reasonable measure to take in order to stop women from causing men such havoc. Let's see here.
So, all those preconceptions that I have are wrong.
Many of them, yes, and it's not your fault, Ross, because if you were to just pay attention to the media that is most often put out there about incels, it often espouses exactly the stereotypical depiction that you bought into at the beginning. So don't be too hard on yourself, but there is a lot of misinformation there about this topic that it's really good to appeal to the research.
And yeah, we yet again, whether it's incels, MGTOW, pickup artists, red pillars, the men's rights movement.
There was another scene after this where he does a incel with mock-up, and it's laughable.
That's funny. But regardless of which part of the manosphere we talk about, the media narrative, when you look past what the media says and you examine the available evidence, the facts, the information that is true, they're lying. They're lying about every single facet of it. You have to consider why they would want to do that. You remember what I said about incels in the military and incels in cartels and incels in terrorist cells and so on. Like any group that's militant exploits incels. I think that's
a number of incels are Muslim as well.
Yep.
Oops,
Yep.
sorry. I didn't say that.
Well, you think about it. In Islamic regimes where the government is run by the church, it's not a church, but by the religion, it's legal to have multiple wives. And if you have a population that is pretty close to half and half between men and women, but a small percentage of the wealthiest and most powerful men are monopolizing a large percentage of the women, that leaves a large percentage of men who don't have any leftover women to pick from when seeking a partner. And at the same time, it's illegal for them to be gay. In many of these nations, they can be executed, if not imprisoned. But and if not imprisoned, they're still outcasts in their society. So there are repercussions for that. So what do? What do they have left but to become part of a military group or a militant group? What else is there for them?
And it's very nice and pleasant of this Irish guy to say to Ross Kemp, don't be too hard on yourself, Ross. You've been pushed in a certain direction by the media. And to some degree, he's right. Pardon. But to some degree, he is being too nice. Yes, you have been pushed in a certain direction by this media conglomerate, and I'm not just talking about Fox News or CNN or anything that you Americans might understand as just this corporation that has been pushed in a monetary direction. We're talking about the UK, where almost the entire media has been pushed in whatever direction the government tells it to go in, because that is how it works. It's not just the BBC that has been pushed in the direction that the government tells it to be pushed in, given that the BBC is a government entity. Every broadcast media entity has been pushed in whatever direction Ofcom tells it to, in which to be pushed. Like the media conglomerate in Britain is a single entity controlled by Ofcom. If you want to publicize anything on any broadcast media, and that includes anything on the television and anything on the radio, it's all regulated by Ofcom, which is a government office, the Office of Communication. And yeah, so I get where he's coming from when he says, yeah, sorry, Ross, it's not your fault that you're doing what the government tells you to do, because you're not allowed to broadcast anything that the government does not allow you to broadcast. But at the same time, like, yeah, you're a puppet, Ross. I feel bad for you that you're a puppet, but a lot of us have broken out of that puppet world. I was in a position in my life briefly where I was almost able to write for the BBC, or at least write for Channel 4, which is also under the remit of Ofcom. I was almost in that position, and I'm kind of glad that I got rejected in the end, because God knows if I ever had to submit to the rules of Ofcom, it would have been awful. Because I would have kept submitting my scripts, and they would have kept getting rejected by Ofcom because they were not progressive enough, i.e. not left-wing enough, i.e. not icophobic enough, i.e. not purveying to the absolute destruction of our nation. This is me trying to dig down into what is not a euphemism, because in this country we are constantly buried under all of these euphemisms. That's what I mean. Even oikophobia is a euphemism, even though it is the natural descriptor that I try to use to describe this series of euphemisms, like politically correct and progressive and woke, all that bullshit. And yeah, I can see how difficult it is for someone who works for broadcast media to even break out of the paradigm that is presented by everyone who is under the remit of Ofcom. And yeah, at this point, it includes Netflix. I mean, the British government is even at this point considering making taxpayers pay citizens, considering, like, even if all you watch is Netflix, that you still have to pay the TV tax. Like, yeah, that's That's how far they're going with this. Like, if you watch fucking anything on your television or on your computer, the government is going to make you pay the fucking TV license. Yes, that includes Netflix. That includes whatever the fuck this Ross Kemp documentary is going to be on. Like, it's all under the remit of what the fucking British government tells you to do under the guise of Ofcom. And so, yeah, I feel for you, Ross. This must fucking suck. like you've been just a lowly actor on the most basic bitch fucking platform that we call EastEnders. This soap opera that the BBC is conducting, and then you thought you'd broken away by doing these documentaries, but you're still under the remit of Ofcom because you have to do what Ofcom tells you, just like that you had to do, just like your writers who told you what to say had to do when they were working for Ofcom. And like, it sucks, man. You keep having to do what Ofcom tells you. It doesn't matter if you break away from the BBC and you go to ITV. It doesn't matter if you break away from ITV and have to go to GB News. Even though the BBC is here telling everyone, oh, don't listen to GB News. They're all a bunch of right-wing assholes. Meanwhile, GB News also still has to comply with what Ofcom tells them. And that's why we keep sort of complaining that even GB News has to give the left-wing opinion, even though the whole reason GB News ever existed was to give the alternative to the fucking hardline communist remit that exists on every other channel. But this is what Ofcom is for. It's to let everyone know that you can't just give people a right-wing opinion. No. You have to give them a left-wing opinion as well. While they tell the BBC, oh, well, you can have 9 left-wing people in the debate, but you have to have 1 right-wing person. And it's fucking Zai Yusuf. If it's question time, you need to have 9 people who are in favor of mass immigration forever, but you need to have Zai Yusuf on there, like an immigrant who's ostensibly not in favor of infinite immigration forever. That's how it works on British broadcast television. We pretend that we're giving both sides of the story, where what we're doing is giving the left-wing side of the story to the degree of 90%. And we have to feign a 10% like right-wing side of the story when all it is is the very right part of the left wing. And it's difficult to describe this to my American friends. It's difficult to describe this to even my European friends, because even my European friends don't quite understand just how captured the British media is by the left wing. And I wish I could find a less reductive description of what's going on. Like it's like left wing doesn't do it justice. We are ruled by people who want nothing short of the complete destruction of our country. And yes, that could be described as left wing, but like I say, that's reductive. We are ruled by a cabal of our enemies. That's what that means. And yeah, this Ross Kemp documentary is just another example of that. And despite this clip that we've been shown, like we've done this whole show on this fucking 1 minute 47 clip of something that we're being assured is this record scratch moment in which some employee of the British media had a moment of pause, but he didn't. Like this is all we've seen. Like we're assuming that this documentary is going to be is going to be a moment of pause in this pushing of the Overton window. It's not. Like, mark my words. Like I say this having just watched the Louis Theroux documentary.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be the same shit. It's gonna be the same shit all over again, and we're gonna see nothing but the same shit for fucking years before anything changes. And yeah, stay tuned to Honey Badger Radio because we're gonna cover all this shit.
It's a rough thing when you present information that contradicts narratives that aren't just deeply believed but dearly held, that there's an emotional investment in the belief in that narrative. And the incel narrative is intertwined with the male disposability phenomenon, right? There has to be, for people to be comfortable with their lot in life, and especially women, there has to be a segment of the male population that is just beneath their notice. There has to be a segment of the male population that is just disposable to them, completely and utterly disposable. And it's a pathetic way to look at people. Not that the individuals being looked at are pathetic, but that the looker is pathetic.
I'm totally invisible to women, and I'm invisible to most health professions as well.
Yep, they will. You become an inconvenience. They act like you're an inconvenience. And I've noticed I work with people with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities, and there's a lack of patience. Patience, not Patients. There's a lack of patience that people in healthcare will have with somebody who cannot perform normally in healthcare situations. For instance, an individual.
It depends if they're good looking or not.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it depends if they're good looking or not as well.
That's true too. Although, even somebody who looks normal, if you have somebody that's trying to get health information that you need somebody to do a thing, like, if you're going in to get your heart checked, they may put you on a treadmill and make you walk, and then maybe jog on the treadmill until your heart rate gets up to a certain amount. But there's other things, like they ask you to take a deep breath, or there's devices that you might need to use. When I had when my asthma was more severe than it is now, and I had an inhaler, you have to be able to attach it to the spacer, put the spacer in your mouth, squeeze at the right time, and then take a breath on command. And all of those things, to do those, you have to be able to understand what that means to do those things. And so if you get somebody who is so profoundly disabled that, say, you might say to them, take a deep breath, and they give you a look like you just asked them to calculate the area inside the White House, then they're not going to follow that instruction. They don't understand it. Or maybe they understand what you said, but they don't know how to do what you said. They can't associate it. Healthcare professionals that don't work with them all the time, that this is not their standard experience working with people. Normally you tell somebody, take a deep breath, and they know how to take a deep breath and they do it. They get very impatient. Well, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Well, you have to find an alternative way to get the information that you're trying to get from the deep breath. And sometimes that means that this person who wouldn't normally get an X-ray in this circumstance gets an X-ray, or some other see through the body type of test, right? And that's just one example of many. Some people can't stand up when they're asked to stand up. Some people can't tolerate a blood pressure cuff, or an IV, and so what you end up with in that circumstance with people with intellectual disabilities, ranging from IQ to varying degrees of autism and attention deficit disorder, where maybe sitting still is not a possibility. Maybe they have been on a medication that causes tardive dyskinesia, and sitting still isn't even under their control. Maybe they have Parkinson's, and sitting still isn't under their control. Like a million different things can occur in the human body that can make it difficult. I saw this with my dad. My dad, after his heart attack, his heart was at 25% of its natural function. And so the circulation in his legs was terrible. So his legs were not as strong as they would be expected to be for a man of his age and his size. And he was a big and tall man. So he had difficulty standing up. It took effort. He had to use his arms and his legs together in conjunction with each other to move from a sitting position to a standing position, and he could not do it rapidly. And when he was in recovery from his last injury, he's in a nursing and rehab center that was supposed to be, the local hoity-toity nursing and rehab center for the area where he lived. Like that, you pay to on top of Medicare, what Medicare pays, or your insurance to be there. And they treated him like he was refusing to do things that he physically was incapable of doing. There's a huge difference between capacity and consent. And you're not refusing to do something if it's physically not possible for you to do it. And he kept trying to communicate with them. I need to be able to do it this way. I need to be able to use my arms. I need to work on both my arm and leg strength. I can't separate them. I need both at the same time to stand up. And the women who were doing physical therapy at that location refused to listen to him. And they do have the capacity. Women do have the capacity to listen. I know it doesn't always seem like it, right? I know we make it seem like we don't, but we do. We do have the capacity to consider what a man says and adjust accordingly. And if a woman doesn't do that, it's by choice. They chose not to listen to him. They chose not to consider his experience of the physical therapy. They got frustrated with him, and they treated him like he was being a disobedient patient because he didn't run the standard patient software that they were expecting, or hardware for that matter. And that, in my opinion, contributed to his death. And I told as much to the ombudsman for the elderly in Ohio when I called her about the practices of that nursing home. And it's something that most places don't expect, is for a family member to know what to do when elder abuse is occurring. And I don't know if there was reform, but I do know that that nursing home broke the law with regard to their billing after the insolvent estate was dealt with after that, as a means of getting revenge against me, what little they could. They've sent me billing for that stay, even though once the estate is settled, they can't bill me. They've sent me billing every month just to remind me. I get a monthly reminder of my dad's death from that nursing home. So because I told on them for being bad. Then that is essentially the way the healthcare system treats people with disabilities. It is horrific. If you're not part of the system specifically designed to have compassion. And even if you are part of the system specifically designed to have compassion, there's still a tendency of people to get impatient. Somebody is having a bad day or a bad moment. Somebody is failing to understand something that they normally would understand. Maybe they didn't hear you correctly. Maybe their feet hurt today. Maybe they don't feel good and they don't know how to explain it to you. Or some people are nonverbal and can't tell you. Some people don't know how to describe pain and can't tell you. Right? So yeah, and when it's men in particular, there's this ridiculous expectation that they're just going to suck it up and drive on because they're men. You know, like they don't have the suck it up mechanism if they have certain disabilities, or worse, if they do suck it up, it's a detriment to their care. And yet they get treated like, just soldier on, dude. We don't care if your leg is broken, get marching. Right? We don't care if your mind is broken. Figure this out. Instead of, oh, you know what? It's my job to figure this out. Let me see what I can do. And these are fields that are dominated by women. I'm a direct support professional. Direct support professionals, we get about 3 weeks of basic training, education in the field. We learn first aid. We learn a few things about caregiving, and not even as much really like if you want to be trained to be a nurse's aide. You get taught how to give someone a bath in their bed and how to feed someone and things like that. You might get trained on how to pass medications. We get trained on how to pass medications, but a lot of it you're just expected to know. You should know at least a little bit about how to take care of another person, how to cook, how to clean. But because of that, it doesn't pay a lot, and you don't get as many men doing that job because they have to seek out jobs that will support their family. So it is a male-dominated area, and or is a female-dominated area, and because of that, there's not a lot of patience with male patients, and it is a serious problem. Where I work, it's not so bad. Like most of my coworkers are, I would say they were different, but my company is different. It's different in ways that I can't really explain to you without outing them, and I don't want anybody harassing them. If they disagree with the things we say here, so I'm not going to do that. But in my unfortunately extensive experience with healthcare professionals in hospital settings and clinical settings as a patient or caregiver for another patient, I can say Richard is right. There is not a lot of compassion for people with intellectual disabilities, and especially not men, and for men who are unattractive. So they're not even. It's not even cute and vulnerable when they have their difficulties. To most people, like it is really difficult to get people to show them compassion. People act very differently toward an uncooperative 6 foot tall 250-pound man than they do toward an uncooperative 5 foot tall 90-pound woman who is adorable.
I feel called out.
There we go. It's okay. I'm not 6 feet tall, but I'm catching up with you. And unfortunately, I'm on my way back down though, so it's all right. But with that, I don't think we're going to get into another video because it's 20 after 9. I completely lost track of time. I apologize, Brian.
We've done very well to get through this much of a show on a 1 minute and 47-second video.
Yeah, and here I thought I needed to have extra material just in case.
We'll see you in the after show,
HBR.
folks.
We put the talk in HBR Talk. That's what it is. But the upshot of this is, when you see this stuff on the mainstream media, when you see documentaries about incels and everything, your first question should be, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to manipulate me into? Because this isn't just about female victimhood. I know people will think it is, but female victimhood is a key. It's not a an object in and of itself of it's not the MacGuffin. It's the key to the box that holds the MacGuffin. And the MacGuffin, you have to look up what a MacGuffin is. Because I'm not
Everyone
getting into
knows
a
what a
whole long
MacGuffin is.
discussion about Alfred Hitchcock. But the MacGuffin is male disposability, right? And the exploitative way in which society responds to male disposability. The attack on incels is a means of trying to keep men disposable and cowed, afraid to be the reason for female victimhood and to not be the reason for female security, for those safety nets. So it's a way to ensure that if there's a call for men to find their sense of belonging in some militant, organized, contributing or protective group in their community, regardless of whether we're talking like military in first world countries or cartels and terrorist organizations in second and third world countries. Right? That is the goal. That is to make men more compliant with those calls for service. And the only way to do that is to demonize men who care about being excluded and about having to be utilitarian to women and to be approved by women in order to be included. And yeah, in our vertical chat we have Iudex Voluntas followed by a number. So they hated him for being weak. That is a fully accurate description. That is exactly the problem. They hated him for being weak. When it's okay to abuse a man because you hate him for being weak, then it becomes easy to shove him into one of those service positions. You must be a member of this cartel to be respected. You must be a member of this, which they wouldn't consider themselves terrorist organizations. They would consider themselves to be freedom fighters, right? You must be one of these freedom fighters.
Well, at the same time,
right?
They hate him for being strong.
Yeah.
They hated Jesus for telling the truth. Shut up.
Yeah. And until we learn that love thy neighbor includes all men and not just the cute ones, not just the chads, not just the men that are doing something for you, this is going to continue. So don't let the mainstream media convince you that these guys are the problem. These guys are the symptom. Lack of compassion for men is the problem. And with that, I think that's the only anything that we had.
I just watched training, but I just watched training boss videos. I'm not a problem.
Yes, it's not very threatening, is it?
I just watch YouTube videos all day.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, YouTube actually has, by the way, quite a great selection of train videos. Anybody else out there that likes to watch train videos, there's one channel that I particularly like. There's a lot of the videos like it's an older channel. Mike Armstrong uh, has quite a selection. There's several others. There's a whole. If you just look up the genre train videos, um, you can also find videos of first responder vehicles on the street, like ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, stuff like that. There's a whole genre of construction vehicles at work and stuff like that. Those videos are a lot of fun to watch.
You name a subject, there will be a YouTube channel devoted entirely to that niche subject.
Yeah, but some of them are crap, like how to make yourself look different than you really look.
Most of them are crap, but you just
how to
you
trick
just
people
gotta...
into thinking you're prettier than you really are. But like the videos of construction and oh, go ahead.
You gotta sift through the crap.
Yeah, you do have to sift through the crap.
Exactly. But you'll find the gems, the diamonds in the rough.
There's videos of jets taking off and landing at airports. A lot of fun to watch. And there are also videos in the cockpit showing like all the prep and all the stuff that they do before taking off, and then the takeoff, and then the landing and the post-landing checks and everything they have to do. So like there's a lot of fascinating stuff. I actually once watched a whole video on the various types of washers, not like clothes washers, but those little discs that you put in between a bolt and the thing that you're bolting to. That I had no idea there were so many different types and so many different purposes for them. Like it makes you really appreciate the genius of men that they've figured out all of these different things. Yeah, machine job videos, like you can watch any, and all that stuff is really interesting, but most people don't watch it.
And if you want to learn how to use any kind of software, then
there's a video.
You can find a tutorial, and
if you want to fix your car, there's a video.
It's very often an Indian gentleman, and whatever you say about Indians, it's always a gentleman.
Yeah,
it's never a woman, you know.
No, women don't seem to. Similarly, like almost every, I don't think I've run across a train channel run by a woman either. A lot of times it's a father and son, or an older gentleman, and you know, like not somebody in the 20-something age group, but like more like the 50, 60 years age group. Very, very cool stuff.
And they're mostly allegedly autistic. Allegedly.
A little bit, yeah. At least a little bit.
We've all got bad things to say about Indians. We've all got bad things to say about Africans. But, you know, their men have good things to say. You can't say that about their women. And it's the same with white women. It's the same with women of any fucking civilization.
They're busy making tutorials about how to curl your eyelashes.
Exactly.
With this little tiny... No, you don't use a tiny curling iron. You use something that looks like a sadomasochistic torture device. But with that, I will say thank you all for listening. Thanks to my co-hosts for the great discussion. Thanks, Brian, for putting up with how long we've gone over time. And good night, all.
Good night, y'all.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.